Welcome back, everyone. We have plenty more Hearthstone for you. We have the last quarterfinal coming up. Then we'll be moving on to top 4. We are here at DreamHack Winter, Jönköping at Sweden. I am joined on this desk by Mr. That's Admirable. I believe that's the official title, right?
Wow, Mr. Usually people call me Mr. or Sir when they're asking me to leave. Like, excuse me, Mr. Can you leave? I'm like, oh, jeez.
I didn't want to say it directly, but you are getting the hint very quickly.
All right, well, take it easy.
No, stay. Okay, so we do have the match coming up. It's going to be Vanik versus Zananananan. As I said, this is the last quarter final. We've already got 3 of the top 4. We're about to find out the 4th. And what's the real sticking points here for these players in their decks or their lineups that you've seen?
Oh, I've talked a lot about Mage being a big performer this weekend, but Aggro Druid, oh my gosh, where did this deck come from? This came out of nowhere. Aggro Druid's been a good deck, but I think finding the right spot in the metagame really took this style of rogue dominance that we've been seeing. Aggro Druid fights fairly well versus a lot of the Zoo Warlock decks just because it has so much presence with living mana that it's difficult for Warlock to stop that damage push. And I think that, combined with the fact that it performs very well versus Rogue, is the 1-2 punch that it needed to show up.
Yeah, and I feel what's been jarring, especially, we cast so much Conquest, right? And in Conquest, normally you take an aggro lineup or you take a control lineup most of the time. And instead, it's like these lineups have felt weird because it's been like control. Oh, by the way, I'm bringing aggro druid. It's really weird. There's like control warlock and aggro druid in the same lineup, and you're like, that doesn't feel like it should work, but it has been working.
Right. Last Hero Standing really brings 2 different varieties to me. With Last Hero Standing, you see a variety in terms of lineups, and with Conquest, you see a variety in terms of you typically don't see the same deck like 3 times in a row dominate games. You'll see the same deck struggle a lot. And to me, I kind of like watching decks struggle. It's a little bit of like a sadist thing, I guess, but there's something about it where you're like, oh, just one more card. Nah, he's dead.
I think it's the knowledge that it's like, I just need to win once. Oh. And I've won this in Conquest. It's like, actually, this deck to just win once and then it loses 3 times. You're like, no.
I always try to put myself in that player's shoes.
Yeah.
And like, I start to feel their panic and their peril when I do that. I'm like, I've been in that situation and that feels not so good. I know exactly what that's like. And sometimes I like getting a little scared. Not a scary movie kind of guy, but,
same.
Scary card game kind of guy.
I have a weird thing about scary movies, actually.
I know, but weird, right?
Well, I don't like watching them because they scare me, but I want to know what happens. So I'm actually the guy that reads the synopsis of a scary film. I'll read about it, but not watch it.
I had a friend recommended me I watch Seven one night. I was like, "What's a good movie?"
Seven's not a scary film.
And I was like, "I want to watch a cool movie before I go to sleep." He's like, "Oh, have you seen Seven?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Check it out." And I didn't watch a trailer or anything. I just watched it. I'm like, why would you recommend this to somebody who said they wanted to go to sleep afterwards? Oh my gosh, you're a terrible person.
I think Seven's more of a thriller, but what is going to be a thriller is this match coming right up. So we spoke a little bit about the lineups. Let's speak a little bit about the players. Throughout the weekend, we have been talking about Zananananan, and by doing that and proving it just then, we have not quite got his name exactly right every single time. So we asked him exactly how he goes about pronouncing it.
It was like 5 years ago, and I needed a name for an online game, and it just chose Zananananan, 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 Zananananan.
I actually didn't know that was the video. I'm in tears. So
I could listen to that for 10 hours, Loop.
That sounds great. That might be my Hearthstone ladder grind music now.
Tears in your eyes. This
Honestly,
is so beautiful.
I actually had I thought that was at least a semi-serious interview. Yeah, about his name, and then that happened, and I'm sorry about that, guys.
That's what
I'm gonna try
set
and
it up
compose
to
myself.
Came back here, he's like, "Oh, we talked to Zan, and we had a video, but just lead into it." And so
production just did the full bait and switch on us. We were literally like, yeah, so we've got, we asked him about, his name and stuff. Like, okay, no problem. We'll watch it. It'll be great. And then
got him!
They smack us in the face with that. But I hope you enjoyed that because we definitely did. But yeah, Zananan, I would say, along with Zump, has actually been one of the most impressive players, and we've seen him a repeat DreamHack performance from him.
Yeah, I also remember seeing his name during the Hearthstone Championship Tour, where he would bring some pretty reasonable lineups, and I liked seeing some of his aggressive moments where he would try to seize windows of opportunity. I don't really feel like he was super straightforward and just trying to be aggressive all the time, but I haven't seen a ton of him play. So I am looking forward to seeing how he takes on this match, because his lineup is looking like just the good old lineup that people have been bringing. But once again, aggro druid in his lineup and a big performer at this tournament. It is way outperformed a lot of the other off archetypes that we've seen from classes.
Yeah, and we can check out how the lineups are going to clash against each other, because we do have the picks and bans ready for you and for us to have a look at and maybe dissect just a little bit. Priest is gone for Vanik. Zanananan decided to take away the Priest, and Zananan's Druid is gone, so he has Mage, Priest, and Rogue left. And again, we have almost beat us into the ground at this point, but it is important. How different are this Mage and this Warlock as the fourth deck?
Yeah, that's right. Vanik has brought Zoo Warlock here as well. So the aggro druid deck from Zananananan has multiple it has multiple targets that it really wants to go after here with both the Rogue and the Zoo deck that are in Vanik's lineup. So this is an uphill battle, I think, right from the get-go. And game one, I think, is going to be the pacemaker for this match. Like, how does it set the tone, and where does Vanik develop his game plan afterwards? A game one win for Vanik, I think, is much more important than it is for Zanananan.
Yeah, it's huge in general in Last Hero Standing, right? Because at the end of the day, counter picks are available because you pick into the winning player, not the other way around or anything like that. But it does mean that whoever gets that first win does have the overall control of the matchup, depending on how the lineups add up. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting. The players are just getting ready to start just when they're ready. Looks like Zana is just taking a quick drink. Stay hydrated, very important when playing a game.
If you've been in the club that long, mix up some beats. You got to get some water in you.
He's just been in the studio recording actually, so he's just just freshening up a little bit, and he is ready to play some Hearthstone. Let's go into game number one. It is going to be this Zoo from Vanik going up against Zananan's Mage.
Yeah, and this is a pretty strong opener for DJ Zananananan, bringing you his new hot Mage track here. With Frostnova Doomsayer dropping the beat on 5 or potentially on 4 with coin, that could be the kind of tempo swing that allows him to get board development and then really start to pick apart everything Vanik plays for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be real tough here, just because, as you said, there's the early head-to-head matching with the Mana Worm against the Zoom 1-drop or 2-drop. And then after that, as you said, the Doomsayer is going to be a lot. Frostball is huge as well, mainly because of that pink Flappy Bird.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's huge. Look at that Flame Imp showing up. Woo! That's a big disruption to Zanananan's opener here. Normally, playing a Voidwalker, Malchezaar's Imp, it's just really not that strong against Mage. But leading off with Flame Imp means that Mana Worm is typically off the table in that instance.
This is going to be huge, though, because often Frostball in a Flame Imp isn't that bad. You're normally okay with that. But if Zanananan uses the Frostball and the Flame Imp, then he has no answer to the Flappy Bird, apart from the Doomsayer, of course. But then, if the Doomsayer is used early, even if it does go off, there's no, say, Soulfire drawn, for example, to make the trade. If it goes off, then this Nova Doomsayer turn 5 plan is kind of out the window for now.
Well, that's the thing is if Zananananan Frostbolts his Flame Imp, I think he's using his resources very liberally in that spot. Like, you'd have to have a very distinct winning game plan afterwards, I think, to justify that. And when he sees a Voidwalker potentially come down here, that may start to sway his decision, where he looks at, well, I can Frostbolt the Flame Imp and then maybe get an Acolyte of Pain down. But with the deck list open, he knows that Vanik is playing with Vicious Fledgling. He knows that that's really the priority minion. Here, I think he's going to be more willing to sacrifice health total than he will be to try to seize that board very strong. And I think it's a wise plan as well. With the Frostnova Doomsayer, I don't think he's under the threat of immense early pressure.
Just has to be a little bit careful, because he knows his opponent Vanik is playing the Flappy Birds, but does he know there are 2 in hand? Almost certainly no at this point.
There's no way to know. There's also, to note, a couple of copies of Darkshire Councilman and 1 Spellbreaker in Vanik's deck, so that could weigh into Zananan's decisions on how to play this game. So, like, for instance, you see him, he touched the Mana Worm real quick. His instinct was to Mana Worm, coin, and Frostbolt. I think that's quite strong because this also allows him to challenge Councilman, and it allows him to challenge Vicious Fledgling in this note.
bird,
It gets down that Acolyte of Pain in the same note. I think this is a great line of play.
And holds on to Frostnova Doomsayer. This is kind of ticking every box he wants to tick for this turn.
Yeah, and these are the kinds of game plans that you have to craft early on. If he had just simply gone for a Coin Frostbolt into Mana Worm or tried to like coin ping into ping, this game could have easily gotten out of hand. Although the coin ping into ping, I think, was quite strong. It didn't give him really the liberty to really push onto the board that much, because on turn 2, Vanik may choose to develop a Voidwalker instead of life tap in that
I think there's
instance.
something just small that you could consider was just playing the Mana Worm anyway, expecting the trade from the Flame Imp and then the ping on top of that. But there's a few things that just make that awkward. Like you said, any drop after the Flame Imp means you are still behind. So holding on here, suddenly Zananan's actually just got the board here versus Vanik Zoo.
Yeah, I will say that the Acolyte of Pain isn't quite as impactful in play against Zoo as it once was.
Yeah.
You know, Zoo used to play just a flood of 1 and 2 cost minions.
So you used to play Knife Juggler for a start.
Exactly. And so now that you've moved more towards a Saranite Chain Gang and Crystal Weaver style of build, Acolyte of Pain is very welcome, but just, again, not as impactful as it used to be. So we may see Zananananan be in a situation where he feels forced to play a Doomsayer like into a Vicious Fledgling to try to disrupt this and draw some cards from the Acolyte.
Yeah, I
Maybe
do think
just
it's
Fireball.
I do think as well. Does this Acolyte actually just open up a very easy just ping Acolyte next turn and say, I might have, I can draw 1 to 2 cards based on if there's a minion to trade into, which you're presuming there will be against Zoo, and then maybe have something with 2 mana to do. But that assurance is actually just covered by the fact that there's Nova Doomsayer turn 5, and very few answers in Vanik's deck to a Nova Doomsayer.
And that's why I think that this Acolyte is quite threatening. Is again, Zananananan can toy with his life total quite a bit here. Vicious Fledgling is very difficult to deal with, but not if you just have the direct answer with Frost Nova Doomsayer. So Vanik does have to figure out whether or not it's profitable to attack Acolyte in this circumstance.
I love this play. This is so good. Vicious Fledgling, normally you step 1 rule, don't let it hit you in the face, right? But it still can't dodge a Nova Doomsayer. Nothing it has stops it dying to Nova Doomsayer. The worst case are the 2/1/1 plants it can create with the Death Rattle.
Yeah,
but
and I think that's why you've been seeing Vanik life tap so much.
Yes.
He feels like he really needs to find that Doomsayer or a Soulfire to couple with his Doomguard to handle that 1/2 punch.
Yeah, and by doing this now, Zanan's just saying, well, I probably draw at least 1 more card from this Acolyte, and whatever you play on top of this is dead. And the 5-drop slot for Warlock is actually very strong.
Yeah.
Doomguards and Dreadlords now.
It's actually strong as Dreadlord against an Acolyte of Pain.
That's what I mean. It sets up so well. Like, almost no matter what happens here, Zanan's in a very, very good spot.
Yeah, I like this play from Vanik. I think this is some of the weaker cards in his hand. It sets up the Malkazar Zimp into Doomguard, and then also mitigates the attack of the Acolyte right into the Voidwalker.
Like the value trade.
Yeah, to draw that 3rd card from it. The 3rd card from Acolyte is when you start getting in some real trouble if you're not outright pressuring your opponent into the ground.
I wonder, is Fireball ever just okay here? Or do you think that's too greedy now?
I think it's fine. This is the stage now where toying with his life total can be quite dangerous. Any minion sticking to the board, we're rolling the Bone Mare turns. He doesn't know that Doomguard's there, but he knows they're in the deck.
I think that's why I like the Fireball, though. If you Fireball the 4/4 this turn, then you Frost Nova Doomsayer next turn, and that should lock out the Bone Mare turn.
Yeah, it definitely can. I quite like that, but he also really wants to get down that Arcane Intellect and Ice Block, but that is the perfect draw for Vanik.
Wow.
And look at him just smile like, oh my gosh, it happened.
I'm sure there's a lot of people said that to themselves.
This is devastating to Zananananan. Like, I don't think he comes back from this. He's going to have to draw some heat.
Well, he has got a lot of heat in hand. 4 spells that are fiery. So he can Fireball the 4/4 and then just take, 9/11? And then he has...
Just take 11?
He's on 24. But then he has Firelands if he needs to. But can he afford to just take 11 when his opponent hasn't played the big bursts yet? No Soulfires, no Doomguards.
That's the thing. He's got ways to answer stuff, but it's a snowballed position at this point. There's too much left for him to deal with. And so he quite literally needs some very fortunate Firelands Portal drops here or he has to chain together freezes by starting on the Frost Nova with the Arcane Intellect, or like just naturally drawing his blizzards in a row. This is dire straits.
Problem with this Arcane Intellect next turn is there is only the one Frost Nova in the deck now.
Exactly.
So that is asking. Sometimes you have to actually deck big questions and it needs to answer. But that's a big ask at this point, especially now. Bone Mare's cooking.
Wind Fury.
There it is. That is, frankly, a lot of damage. He's not going to be able to proc this turn, though. But he's going to get very close.
This is the damage you just don't come back from. Like, even in the instance where he finds that chain of freezes, he's still got to deal 22 damage, and that's just not going to happen. This was too much.
Yeah, even now, I don't think there's any kind of miracle he can get from Firelands. He can draw first Glyph, maybe into a Nova. I think he has to go for Glyph. The Archaeologist isn't doing anything. Fireball actually does nothing.
I quite like the Glyph this turn, and I think I'd like to see the Archaeologist as well to try to thin this deck out a bit and see if you could just like piece together freezes. At this point, he's just hoping Vanik never draws Soulfire or Doom.
Well, also, if he takes Blizzard now, next turn he can Archaeologist Blizzard, and then plan on the Archaeologist drawing the block. And then, you know, next turn, the turn after, he then blocks and tries to Frostbolt maybe and Fireball to try and freeze, you know, just stuff like that. He has to, like, slowly stave off this, frankly, insane aggression from Vanik whilst trying to piece together some form of way to win the game here. He does have the Ice Block live, so he isn't going to die next turn. There's his second Ice Block, so he is slowly piecing together a plan, but it is a very dire plan at best.
Yeah, this is tough territory. This is a matchup that Zananananan, I think, is expecting to win as well. This deck performs very well versus Zoo, but that one tech of the Spellbreaker has changed the landscape of this game. Tech cards are super important, and that was obviously a very fortunate draw for Vanik. But remember, he chose a life tap on turn 2 instead of play a minion, and that single life tap drew him that Spellbreaker on time.
And again, we were advocating this, but Zananananan holding the Doomsayer for the Frost Nova Doomsayer turn, he could have Doomsayed earlier and actually not had as much of a board to try and beat down. Obviously, the game would have played out differently, but all these divergent paths, you know, don't necessarily lead to the same place.
Yeah, I think that his game plan was spot on with the Frost Nova Doomsayer. It just happened, Vanik happened to have the punish that time.
Ice Block procced now. Vanik just got to think, the Doom Guard's certainly going to be held onto here because that's what you want, worst case, to play next turn to prop the block.
Yeah, I'd like to see no life taps here as well. I think life tapping is...
There's no need.
Yeah, I think it's just
you have
purely dead risk.
Imp Doom Guard next turn, so if you need to draw a card, you can do it whilst doing the thing you were planning to do anyway.
Just beat him up.
The horse is like, eat this, Doomsayer. There hasn't another Nova now.
Yeah, so he does have a lot of freeze gas to get this done. The problem is the Doomsayer is popping that second block from hand. And that's a situation where if Zananananan had just that little bit more time, maybe he gets past this spot.
What's super awkward here is it is impossible to make the choice to Ice Block and not freeze.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to just try and, like, Fireball face, you know, and, like, build it like that or Fireball minions down. This is obviously the play he's going to make every single time, but in some insane world where you take the Wreath as a Doom Guard, it's actually better to not play the freeze this turn and try and freeze the Doom Guard the turn after.
Oh my.
But I guess the Doom Guard wouldn't get played that turn anyway, so...
Blood River rolled down to extend life total next turn as well. And here's the thing, this was smart from Zananananan to not kill any minions here. It means that the Doom Guard can't be coupled with a Malchezaar Zip, and try to dig further to, like, say another Soulfire, a Doom Guard, or the Blood Reaver Gul'dan.
You're already in a bad spot. You don't need things to get any worse at this point. There's one hole in the boat. Leaving minions, you know, killing the minions are going to make a couple more.
There's about 4 holes in this boat right now, and as much of this water you could bucket out, he's going to need a lot more buckets. And by buckets, I mean exactly Primordial Glyph into a Miracle.
Ah, that kind of bucket.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could buy those.
It's tough to... You gotta like rune craft them or something. I don't know how they come up with mage spells.
Gotta go fast. I love Nemzi. Nemzi's so great because she's such a whimsical character for a warlock.
Yeah.
You know, it's like warlocks are supposed to be like evil and all this. And Nemzi's like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah, don't let her fool you. She turns into Gul'dan at some point. But at some point, the mask comes off.
You were Gul'dan. It's like a Scooby-Doo. You were Gul'dan all along.
Look at this. So Vanik actually opts to not go for the Doomguard this turn, and that gives Zananananan some time to start launching burn.
Ooh.
His backup plan is literally to use the Blood Reaver Gul'dan to sustain his life total and then work on it afterwards. But I'm curious if this opened up him to maybe some lethal possibilities from Zananananan.
Wait.
I don't. Oh my gosh, that is so important.
Yeah, because now he has 2 minions to. Charring Patches was good. He has 2 charge minions to be able to prot the block and then kill him the turn after.
That's better than most of the cards left in his deck.
I wonder.
That's insane.
Look at this as well. Think the block gets proc this turn. Say the Doomguard was used, which is a reasonable assumption. There's no other way to proc the block. Without we're pretending Patches wasn't drawn, by the way. Then Pyroblast.
Wait,
Oh no, sorry. Then Blizzard into potentially some more burn.
There's no hasty demons here. Pyroblast is going to set Vanik down to 8. And then he's going to go up to 10 from his hero power. I do think he got out of this, but this does leave Zananananan with a Primordial Glyph into Giant Burn spell out. Is that correct? 8? No, he goes to 11. Oh my gosh. This plane did get out of it. I think it's done here by like picture-perfect math.
Yeah.
As well. I think this is literally 1 point of life math.
Yes. He heals for 3. You need to Primordial Glyph into Pyroblast. And that's not enough. So he goes to 11, not 10.
Okay, so Vanik did plan this out exactly. That's what he spent so much time thinking about.
It felt like a scary way, though. Although this looked 100%, so fine. But that did look scary for a second. I'll be honest.
It looked very scary for a second.
There's not many worlds in which you're against a burn mage in which you don't prot the block if you can. When you have 2 minions with charge.
Look at that, 11. That's like the heartbreaking moment to Zananananan where he's like, did I miss a point of damage this game?
So, have 2 fireballs been used?
Yes. I believe so, right? No, only 1 has. But that's... So would it be Arcane Intellect into Fireball into Glyph or something? That's not enough mana. Because he's only got...
No, it would need to be Glyph into Tome into block and a burn spell. I mean, you're laughing. You go and speak to Akko one day.
Seriously, I mean, that is... I said it was going to take a miracle. And Vanik even found, I think, something that does give him a slightly bigger win percentage overall.
Yeah.
Which is quite astonishing because it did look like it was on the verge of a mistake, but he had done the math and realized that Glyph into Pyro was going to leave Zananananan one damage off of killing him.
Fine line between genius and madness. And Vanik.
I am curious though, because it does give him another draw to find a Primordial Glyph. That's one of those things where the difference is so minuscule that in the grand scheme of things, you probably don't realize it. That is something you'd have to sit down and literally math out. And in 75 seconds, you're not doing that much math.
Well, again, I think it's a lot of things as well. We talk about different plays, but a lot of it is you were going to win. Did it make it 0.001% more likely to win by doing this, right? It's so small that it's kind of difficult to really argue over too much.
How much change have you ever thrown away in your life?
Literally thrown away?
Like you just like toss it somewhere and you never find it again.
Oh, I thought you meant like, I don't want this anymore. I'm throwing this on the floor. You know,
you're like
none.
Wait, hang on. Someone handed me 20 cents. Let me find a trash can real quick.
Yeah. So like a recycling metal kind of like bin somewhere for this money.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
That's called me.
Yeah.
I'll recycle your money very well if you don't want it.
Oh, okay, that's fair enough. You're gonna make it something brand new.
I'm just gonna spend it on LaCroix or something like that. I don't know.
What's LaCroix?
So it's like this sparkling water.
I think I've seen you talk. I've seen you talk about.
You
this.
see Rob Wing talk about. LaCroix,
that's who I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Rob Wing.
Rob Wing loves LaCroix. If it's new and like kind of modern, but also fad, but somewhat hipster, that's like Rob Wing's thing.
I actually can't argue with that analysis, but let's have some analysis on these opening hands, Admirable.
Flame Imp is a great card in general, but against,
and that's it.
Against Rogue, it has some consequences to it. The number one is Backstab. Backstab checks this very well and actually gets some bonus value out of it as well. The Voidwalkers, the Malchezaar's Imps, they tend to perform a little bit better versus Rogue because it just takes that one extra thing to kill them. And that one extra annoyance means that sometimes you get a window of opportunity.
Also, so one dagger swing on a Voidwalker actually makes like almost a ripple effect later in the game with how the daggers are used and when the daggers are redone. It's actually very impactful. But now I actually like the whole plan here of just skipping the either coin Keleseth or Keleseth on 2 and actually skipping this turn and next turn going backstab coin Van Cleef.
Well, once again, Zananananan, his hand is so good that he does have a lot of different options on how to play this. He's going to take the non-greedy option, it looks like. Like I quite like the double Keleseth and just go for it turn. Like this is going to give you so much power in deck that you need the Edwin.
Well, what worries me now is this next draw. Oh, I guess he has 2 draws because the next turn can be dagger.
Yeah.
There is a chance the next 2 draws with, although I'll be honest, that chance is quite low.
Yeah.
So fine. But the games you lose as Rogue when you make this play are the games you then draw Bone Mare into Scale Vein. But the games you win are the games you draw South Sea Captain ready for turn number 3.
Zananananan. I need some club music, Raven. So a great response.
We've had that play over this whole series.
A great response from Vanik, but my gosh, this is insane. 4-4 patches.
It was good at 1-1. It was not just good.
Patches, slow down, man. I gotta move my mic a little bit. That popped pretty hard.
He's living life in the fast lane. Straight out of a cannon. Like a cannon out of hell.
And Vanik, nothing he plays is living.
Especially if he plays the Bone Mare. It's literally undead.
You are not the boss of me.
That's true.
Oh, another backstab for SI as well.
That's a 5-5 SI7 agent, by the way. Let's go ahead and do that.
It's an unfair SI7 agent.
Yeah.
This guy's toast. Cheating card. I actually think at this point, with the way these draws are going and the follow-up we can already see in hand, Zananananan can actually just like close his eyes, and as long as he clicks a card that's green and then clicks on the board, he's probably okay.
Yeah, eyes closed Hearthstone is a rare condition, but it
happens.
This is looking like one of those spots. Oh, the Spellbreaker was something else to consider on the all-in Edwin play. Like, if you wait, you'll end up taking a considerable amount of damage, and then if you get Spellbreaker, you're like, oh man, why did I wait? Like, not waiting yielded him this insane couple of turns that he had, and so greatly rewarded for his play. Yeah. And I think it's quite right. You know, turning the Flame Imp into a liability and then relying on the strength of your draw is quite easy to do if you have the double buff to everything.
Sure. As long as that one turn, if the turn 3 was missed, because even if Van Cleef, it would have just been a 2-2 because it would be buffed, of course.
Yeah.
If that turn 3 was missed by Zananananan and Vanik like really cashed in on his turn 3, it could get a tiny bit dicey, but double buff is a hell of a thing.
Those are 4-5 Serenite Chain Gangs.
Those are 4-5 Yetis.
And this can't go on much longer. Vanik
pickaxe
he's just gonna die, and that's dead. Yeah. Game 2. Game 3.
Impressive. You win this game. Zananananan evening it up 1-1 off the back of the old coin Keleseth, Shadow Step Keleseth, PogChamp game.
Yeah, that's a rare one, honestly. I mean, you're going to draw Keleseth if you full mulligan for it, somewhere around the neighborhood of about 25% of the time going second. So in your opening hand with the Shadow Step, you cut that by about 1/3 as well. So that's quite a low amount of times that will happen. And then sometimes you can lose those games. As Raven mentioned, you can just whiff and draw big stuff and then be left wondering what you're doing with your life.
Either way, you just skip then to just having a conversation directly with Twitch chat. It's like, yeah, so as Raven mentioned earlier, it's like, you looked at me when you said, like, I remember I was there.
I literally just said that.
Okay, we'll go into the next game. Now it's going to be a rogue on rogue action. These opening hands are going to be vital, as they are in all mirrors, but also these Vilespine draws. Whenever Vilespine hits the board, one person takes control of that game.
Vanik is considering mulliganing away Vilespine. I find that quite interesting. When you have coin, this is a very powerful tool, but he looks like he's eyeing Edwin Van Cleef.
You could even just keep both.
I would tend to keep one or the other, and it looks like he's on the all-in Edwin plan. I mean, they call him Edwin Van Cleef, not Ed Lose Van Cleef, so I'm okay with this.
That's what you get. So you get for throwing away Vilespine.
He would have drawn that next turn. You can't hate on a man for drawing patches.
I mean, you do it more than everyone.
No, I hate on the patches is what I do.
No, I mean, you draw patches more than anyone.
Well, since I stopped saying his name 3 times every match, I stopped drawing him.
Would you believe it? Maybe a simple dagger here. Again, just in this mirror, one player having a dagger, one player not having it equipped, or one player on 1 charge, one player on 2. Might like a tiny, it's just 1 damage. 1 damage makes a huge deal, because it's not just 1 damage. Later down the line, it's 2 mana.
Yeah.
And then so on, so on. This starts to snowball quite heavily. So dagger usage, I'll be honest, Admirable, especially early on, I didn't really play much Rogue in the early days of Hearthstone. And when I started to play Miracle, I had no understanding of how and when the hell you're supposed to use dagger. You know, it was a big deal, and I didn't really get it for a very long time. I still don't quite. I'm gonna be honest. It's very difficult.
I didn't play it much after the Leroy Jenkins change of the days of yore. And this is like 2014. They changed him. I stopped playing Miracle Rogue a little bit after that. And back in those days, you used to equip a dagger and attack because it was vital to just literally get as many points of damage in as you could. That changed very quickly after Leroy was 5 mana. It became very important to actually extend the game another turn. And so I also am quite curious about how the optimal way to use daggers is in these style of matchups. Like you said earlier, the one attack you make can cause a ripple effect for the rest of the game. 100%.
So far on the board, though, Zananan has the 3/3 SI7 agent and still got the true durability on his dagger and backstab Vile Spine.
Yeah, this was a pretty unfortunate pan out for Vanik, where he looked like he was eyeing shadow stepping one of his Fireflies to get that extra 1/1, and then maybe coining out that 1/1 going again. But he still has patches to make this happen. But he is clearly on the let's get in Edwin technique. But this Edwin's liable to get in 1 shot and then get Vile Spine.
Yeah. That's my worry with Edwin. If I actually normally prefer just like a coin Edwin play, you know, just a 4/4, just to get going. Because if you go this hard on Edwin, it normally means you either resources or your turn wasn't actually that good. And when the matchup is so heavily dependent on the power of these Vile Spines, it scares me. But that is a 10/10 Edwin Van Cleef. You cannot really argue with simply dealing 10 to your opponent's dome.
Yeah, in this spot, though, he may have to attack minions. I mean, this is a lot that's piling up on board. Very quickly. The SI7 agent, I think, is likely to change that now, but that backstep Vile Spine is crippling to Vanik's game plan here. If that didn't exist, he may get in 10 damage and like see it trade from Zananananan, or get in 20 damage sometimes.
Which is frankly ludicrous, right? You know, to do that level of damage to your opponent.
Exactly. And so him saying, you know what, you have to have backstep Vile Spine, I think this was still a strong game plan. He just happens to get punished here. It's like the Spellbreaker from game 1.
Yeah. Backstab as well. Not even being, you know, like a flimsy backstab on, say, your own minion. He actually gets value from that as well. You know, backstab on the SI means you can swing with the dagger, keep hold of patches, and the deckhand to be wide onto the board. And I was just going to say backbreaking for Vanik, and Vanik literally hunched over, so I'm worried whether it was actually backbreaking.
I'm just so quite impressed with Zananananan picking up the Vile Spine and repositioning it. He even has the presence of mind to play around a random gotten betrayal in the future spot. Like,
this is a match to get into top 4 of DreamHack Winter here. There's a lot on the line for these players, and playing around stuff like that, very impressive to keep you cool and keep thinking of these things.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I would have just gone, ha-ha, Vile Spine, and just slammed it on whatever part of the board I felt was good.
Yeah, and you get up and shout at your opponent over the screen.
Oh, yeah.
Take that, idiot. Ha-ha, got him.
Yep. And then the headset comes off, and I get shouted at by an admin for taking my headset off. And I'll be like, oh, okay. I lose the game.
Not bad.
Yeah, sorry again. Yeah. The dagger's fine here. You still have 1 more charge, and it's not like Golaka is present in these deck lists because of Keleseth, so you're not really bothered about leaving a pirate on the board.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty liberal expenditure of life, but when you have this board's position, I think you're free to do that.
You're pretty happy on 5. Unless, I mean, even backstab Vile Spine, the backstab doesn't hit anything that good.
That's right.
If there's a return. And on 5, with very limited mana, very limited card count, Zananan's board probably deals with any combination of cards that are played from Vanik here quite easily.
This is about as close to checkmate as you're going to find it.
It's even the Swashbuckler in hand for more value, and then even just Fan of Knives, and or Oh, just file spining, go.
And this.
Oh, okay, maybe not.
You look back to Vanik's mulligan as well. Like, he had a coin starting this game, and he chose to mulligan away Vile Spine and keep the Edwin. Again, he did it for this aggressive push, which ran into this very unfortunate backstab Vile Spine, lest it have gotten in 20 damage or swept a board position to prevent 10. But I think that Vanik just... you don't need to play that all in this matchup, I think. I think the Vile Spine is enough of an edge.
When you say, when we were sat discussing whether you keep Vile Spine, you probably, you know, in that same wavelength, you want to make a gigantic Van Cleef. When we were discussing whether you keep Vile Spine in your opening hand, right? Those two things shouldn't pair together.
Yeah.
This, just very clean, just keeping the board empty there. Hold on to the Vile Spine in case of anything there. You know, anything that may come out that prove a problem. Backstab, not going to be good enough. I'll see Captain just a 3-3 at this moment in time.
Yeah, this is Dunzo.
Yep. Thing is, he's not even got a minion. If that was Shaco, he could say, okay, well, Bone Mare time, you know, maybe. And then Shaco hits something, gets Vanish. Maybe
there's something there,
but this, I mean, Zanan's probably just going to kill the Captain to just deny a Bone Mare.
Oh, Shadow Ranger's even a great pickup in this spot, too.
Yeah. Why not more deeps?
This is actually a weird matchup where Shadow Ranger is like good.
Yeah, because you know there's no fan of knives unless
yeah.
you Zananan.
Unless you swashed it.
Now he's guarding his health. No need to take 3 damage. No need to go down to 12 when Leroy, Shadow Step Leroy can do some dirty things.
Leroy Cold Blood would...
there's enough, right?
Yeah,
there's just enough. Yeah. So no need. This is extremely safe here from Zananan. Sets up easy lethal, especially with the help of Shadow Rager. And there's Stealth Magma Rager.
Sometimes it gets the job done.
Yep.
That's the thing. You give Mag Ranger one different keyword, suddenly it's a completely different card. Like, imagine if it had Taunt, for instance. It would die the same. Game 3 goes to Zanananan, and that's a 2-1 lead. And that means that it is left up to the last remaining deck from Vanik, his Aggro Druid.
Yeah, we've seen Aggro Druid actually perform pretty well versus Rogue, from what I've seen of it this tournament at least.
Oh, it's great versus Rogue.
Which, yeah, it's going to be interesting, though, because on the flip side of that, we have seen Rogue decimate. If Rogue gets over the hump, so to speak.
I'm an idiot. Vanik is playing Jade Druid.
Oh.
My bad.
This is what happens when I choose to trust you. You always hurt me.
I was looking at the Aggro Druid right in front of me was the thing. That's the
Zananananan.
Yeah. My bad.
That's what I mean.
Scary matchup.
Just got real. I chose to trust someone, and it hurt me. Never again.
Take lessons from Raven's mistakes.
Yes. God, people be smart. Cue those
so good.
Bible thumps. Oh, we've already queued the next game. Zanananan 2-1 up versus Vanik in the top 8 match of the Hearthstone Grand Prix here at DreamHack. It's going to be the Druid, as you said, eventually correctly, from Vanik, and the Rogue from Zanananan, of course.
I'm curious how Vanik views the matchup here. I have found that ramping Jades can be quite important in the matchup, but ramping mana can be quite important as well. Killing minions is something that's important for like one stage of the game, being able to wrath like the initial 3/3 or like a South Sea Captain, for instance. But Jade Blossom really is, in my opinion, like the bread and butter card of the matchup. I don't often keep Jade Idol in my opening hand. Rogue is definitely one of the matchups where I feel like I want to keep it.
Yeah, I really, if I'm the Druid, I love going either Jade, a combination of Jade Idol, Jade Blossoms, Jade Spirit, and Jade Behemoth. To me, those are huge. And then that gets you to a Spreading Plague turn later. And suddenly, one, you have enough small Jades to battle with the early small minions from the Rogue. And then also, late game, the Jades get big enough to just two-shot your opponent, basically.
Wow, quite an interesting opening here. Zanananan just choose to play the South Sea deckhand. I'm curious if he's ever maybe trying to bait out a Wrath in this spot.
Or he's okay with a question as to whether Vanik wants to take damage or hero power. Like hero power now, or maybe potential block a wild growth.
That's the thing. I think the intent of this is to try to get pressure down in the face of wild growth. It's the added benefit of also removing like that 3% draw of patches in your deck. or 3.7 or whatever it is. I'm not going to do that.
It's either use the deckhand now or not use the deckhand for a very long time. He already has coined that Foul Spine, so it's not as if he needs to hold on to a 1-drop for a turn 6 Foul Spine
Look
combo.
what this would look like, though. It would have been suddenly a 6-6 Edwin.
And that is true.
Yeah, I am questioning that.
I think he can wait. He has Shaku.
Yeah, it's the other thing too is that you could have even waited, maybe even made a bigger Edwin. I think that using that South Sea was quite greedy.
I guess Zanan just views that he either blocks potential ramp or any extra damage is going to end the game quicker for him.
And this is a spot for Vanik where things are a little bit tricky. I like the Fandral here to pressure, and this typically prompts Zanananan to use Coin Vile Spine. Coin Vile Spine, I think, is something that he can beat in this spot because
with
he's
that
got
Jade Behemoth. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely huge.
And the ramp Jades, I think, is a big catalyst to that point as well. Starfall picked up, though, is really good for helping chew through Jade Behemoths.
Well, he has the dagger swing as well. Absolutely huge there. The Jade Behemoth is going to create a 3-3 Jade, which means that even the 3-3 Jade is going to start contesting on this board.
And the bomb train is going to begin now for Zanananan as well. Like, it is big, heavy-hitting cards for quite a while here. So Vanik, not cycling that Wrath, did that cost him anything in this game?
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because you still have to look at what next turn is going to look like for Vanik. He has a lot of draws that fill that turn out, but also Rogue has so many Wrath targets for full to just remove a minion that I think having it is fine.
Yeah, I think I like the Scalebane here more than I like the Starfall as well. This presents threats that are quite difficult for Vanik to handle adequately.
Yeah, it sort of demands a hero power no matter which way you slice it,
Look
right?
at this. Jade Spirit is the perfect draw. Jade Spirit Mark Lotus Wrath is going to clear Zananan's entire board.
What did we see? Jade Blossoms. Now, slightly different order, but Jade Blossoms, Jade Spirit, Jade Behemoth.
Jade
Idol.
Yeah.
All the cards you want versus Rogue because you keep up.
And this is what I mean. Like, ramping, if he had a ton of ramp this game, he'd be almost out of cards. But ramping
And his Jades will be 1-1.
Yeah,
like,
but ramping his Jades was massive in this game. Rogue, it beats you with presence on the board, not with card advantage. And so having that presence on board, I think, is a much bigger catalyst to a win than just simply getting a lot of mana and then hoping you have the big stuff after.
And it's not as if not ramping puts you behind on mana. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he's actually fine for now.
Look at this. He's going to be able to hang on to the Wrath. I like it at this
Probably
stage.
wants to cycle.
He's got plenty of life to work with.
Yeah. And that 4-2 taunt, weak to the SI, but to exactly a combo SI on turn 6. Like, that's kind of tricky to do and make an impactful turn. Look, there's a 3-4 and a 5-5 on the board, even if you forget about the Behemoth.
Yeah.
That's really strong, actually.
This play from Vanik actually plays around the specific combination of second South Sea Deckhand and second Vile Spine Slayer. If he had chosen to use the Wrath in this spot, I think there's times he walks away going, I can't always kill both of these things. So I want to hold something. Or, if he wants to play something and sweep the board, it maybe prevents him from playing something. But hanging on to the Wrath means that situations like these, he gets to start pressing damage. In addition to this. And I quite actually like using the Wild Growth this turn as well, ensure that King can come down.
I like using the Wild Growth based off what this Wrath draw is. I think you just cycle with Wrath.
Is he drawing with Wrath?
Oh, I'd imagine so.
Oh.
I think you need to, right? Because what if you draw next turn is another Wild Growth, then you're just playing like 10 mana, 7/7,
Yeah, I quite like this, actually.
Yeah, I like this.
It's just, it's a trade-off of some health on your minion and some damage, but you're trying to just draw Jades at this point. So yeah,
you clear the board no matter what. It's not like the Wrath now doesn't clear the board. The board's clear.
Yeah.
If you just double trade in.
It's far superior.
Yeah, I like this. Just getting a little bit deeper in the deck. Because now he is not dead by turn, or by turn 7, 8, 9 mana, whatever. Then suddenly the impact of just drawing a Spreading Plague, an Ultimate Infestation, Malfurion. The
Jade
game,
Idol.
but that's what I mean. The game off one draw of many options now is almost in the bag here for Vanik.
Great use of the Starfall, but
Still behind. Tempo Rogue isn't getting in tempo.
quite behind, I'd say.
Let's see what the draw is. This is a huge deal. Okay. Not amazing, but still 5/5 with stats on the board.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a spot still where because your turn is quite weak that you want the 10 armor instead, you go for more development. Druid, the key is unlocking as much as you can do.
Is that just wild growth into
oh
wild growth
my
into
gosh! Oreo Blackpaw is insane. Vanik, I think, is poised to force game 5.
Yeah. And this isn't normally how a lot of Jade Druid games go. Imagine, like you said, if there was ramp, the Jades would be like 3-3s now, instead of a 6-6 and Aya and that 5-3 still being on the board.
DreamHack may have something to say about that in some circumstances, though.
I don't think it matters anymore.
Oh, the Jade's at 7-7, and he drew Ultimate Station. Yeah. That's death.
That's a keeper.
Yeah.
Just use the 5-3 and the 5-5, the 5 damage, should I say, from the Ultimate Infestation.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, DreamHack clears the board, great. Even if it cleared the board and wiped Aya, right? And the Jade. Well, Vanik's just drawn up most of his deck now. It's like refilled his hand. That was the only thing Zananananan could hope on, was that the next 2 cards like aren't draw, and he whiffs, and it gives him some breathing room.
And somehow he lives at 1 after the 2 packs as well.
Sure,
yeah.
but you know that in like a crazy world, at least Vanik didn't have any cards. Oh wait, Ultimate Infestation, boom, boom,
5.
there goes the cards.
Aggro Druid versus Jade Druid is going to be the matchup, and this is one where I've seen it go both ways, and it is typically a blowout one way or the other.
Yes.
Which one is favored is going to be an interesting question here. I think the loss of the 2-mana Innervate is a huge hit to where Jade Druid sat in terms of defense in this matchup, plus the tick up of 1 of Spreading Plague. And I did know the matchup prior to that change. It was very Jade Druid favored. But post, I would tend to say that Aggro Druid has a substantial edge in this matchup. There's not a ton of stuff that Vanik has to really press against it.
What I will say as well is back then, Jade Druid was playing Tar Creeper quite often. So that's a huge minion to actually help out versus that.
But Priest was banned on the overlay, correct?
Yep. I guess we've messed that one up.
Yeah, I did ignore what I
Well,
just said
don't ignore it. It was good advice, good analysis. Don't ignore it. It's just not relevant for this game.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I do think that Priest can be quite favored in this matchup. Saddle disagrees, and I think rightfully so. If the Shadow Reaper Anduin or the Raza are buried in like the bottom 10 cards of Zananan's deck, it will be quite difficult for him to stabilize and then get enough time to do that.
Yeah, me and Tol discussed this last match, or maybe the match before now. I'm getting kind of lost with how many matches and who's done what. But Sol was saying that he actually thinks it's very close to 50-50, but swung heavily depending on a couple of things. The Priest drawing the 2 key cards, of course, to unlock the magic machine gun box.
Yeah.
Or, the Druid getting the ramp and just getting there first. Like, that's the biggest deal.
It is quite similar to the way that the Aggro Druid versus Jade Druid matchup works, where the player who wins usually wins by a pretty substantial margin. But it does swing back and forth quite heavily. And that's why you're seeing Zanananan play so aggressively to the board here. That chip damage really matters if he draws, say, the Anduin, but not the Raza. He does not have a machine gun of unlimited shadow form shots to end him.
In this matchup, it's actually just better to draw Anduin. Like, you can kill someone with Anduin without Raza.
Yeah.
You can actually, it's obviously a lot harder, but you can make it happen. But here comes the Kazakas on curve.
Deal 6 is really good, but the resummon is going to be a take, and then he's offered the deal 6 again. Now it's deal 6 because of the Blood Mage here, but it's going to stick around.
Yeah, and look at the quality of the revives now. So there's the Elemental, absolutely huge. The Thalnos, more card drawing, more damage, great. Yes, there's the Kazakas, but that's always happening when you play Kazakas to get the potion.
Yeah. No,
so the quality is very high so far.
And converse to the last matchup, I think the Jade ramp is important versus Priest, but I actually think the mana ramp is the most important because you're trying to unlock the Forgotten King Ultimate Infestation turn basically as soon as you can.
Yeah.
And look what he's done. Zananan's going into 5 mana. Vanik is going into 10 mana. And guess what he has?
Swipe.
Yeah. He's also got Mind Control Tech, and he can add a hero power to that as well.
It's just a spicy turn right there.
Or he could make a 7/7, a 5/5, gain 5 armor, and draw 5 cards, and deal 5 damage.
Oh, it depends what you can Mind Control Tech.
Ah, that's true. He could take that Blood Mage.
I have noticed, I was saying this to Sottle when discussing this matchup earlier, Priest has got progressively faster in this matchup at just killing the Druid. They don't really worry about the Jades at all.
If Zananananan had taken the deal damage part of the potion, I'm sorry,
Right,
he did take the deal damage part.
I mean, he got off it first, he didn't take it. Got
There we go. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, this
This is a lot of damage.
I mean, he has Holy Fire and Mind Blast. This wouldn't be the first time we have seen Priest smoke him, and it was actually Raza Kazaka's.
The chip damage matters.
Yeah.
It matters a lot. Right now, this is Kazaka's Priest.
Right now, this is Get him Priest. But on the flip side of that, we are seeing that right now this is Druid doing the ultimate infestation things. Look at the power level of those draws as well. All the Jades Vanik could ever want. The fan draw just to make some funky things happen, maybe with Malfurion a little bit later on.
Yeah, this is back to card draw mode for Zananananan, and he's going to need to find Anduin. I think this was a valiant effort on the push, but it's not going to quite get there if your opponent's going to have turns like these. This was insane.
One thing to consider is the Jades will be very small.
Trying to buy some time here.
Well, the thing about the refill is expecting a Jades. Jades are going to be very small. If he can go into, some kind of AoE next turn, get into Anduin the next couple of turns, he is still in a reasonable position. Vanik is only on 19 health. 19 health is nothing to a comboing Priest.
That even trades up because of the fear of that damage.
And now there is the Orkanai into the circle if so required.
Enchanted Raven, Tortollan Forager, Mire Keeper.
Probably the Raven.
Oh, yeah, the Mire Keeper. We saw that one.
Nevermore.
Nice little bit of ramp there.
Why not?
It's not quite as good as
10 on 5.
Vanik's, yeah.
Really surprised he just left everything up there. But again, one thing you can do against Jade Druid as Priest is not kill the minions.
Yeah.
Because then they can't get any bigger.
Well, Mark of the Lotus.
Okay, they can get marginally bigger. God.
That's the plan here. It's literally what he's doing is making them bigger.
Thought I missed you, but it turns out 3 days was enough.
That's what my fiance says as well. That's what my fiance says as well. She's like, yeah, 3 days is enough.
4 days a week, you just live in a hotel.
Yeah,
that's just pretty close.
Yeah,
That's pretty accurate.
This last quarter of the year, that has been the case.
This is what I like to call a lot of Demahe. Circle does get it done though with the hero power, just leaves the one Jade up in the Aya, which I believe will be 3-3, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I still like Vanik still trimming the board position here as well. I think it is vital for him to pay attention to his life total. Like, imagine he had taken additional 6 damage somewhere along this road.
Yeah.
The Velen Mind Blast suddenly he's just like dead sometimes.
Nice. Talent Priest getting good work done.
Yeah, so now Vanik is right back in that spot where he's like, okay, well, how do I clean this up and start to get the damage underway again?
I think Vanik really wishes he had Malfurion right about now.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty strong one.
Wait, hang on. Is there a world in which he double swipes? I'm guessing no.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, it would be 12 points of damage. And can Zananananan actually kill him from this life total? I don't think so.
Well, it's not even that. It's that he can just ultimate infestation next turn if he doesn't heal enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Put him down to 1. And
Something to think about.
Interesting.
Because all minions do is they do pile on the pressure, but slowly. And you don't want to give the priest time. That's the one thing you don't. So I'm pretty sure, I'll just quickly try and double check, that there is a Spirit Lash that can heal. There's no greater healing potion. So I think it would literally be like, what, would Velen heal even get there? I mean, this is of course dangerous, just as well, but.
Yeah, Zananananan is, he's missed those key cards. I mean, again, this was a valiant pressure from him. I liked his early game plan. This just did not pan out well.
Well, just as much as we were talking about, sometimes you Keleseth, Shadow Step Keleseth in Rogue, sometimes you don't draw not just one piece, but either of the 2 keys in the priest deck. And it happens, and you probably lose.
And this is exactly what Sato was talking about. Without the key tools, Priest just it flops around like a fish
It's
out
like
of water.
saying, well, in Jade Druid, if you don't draw Jades, you'll probably lose. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, well, that's the point of, if you don't do the point of your deck, well, yeah, it's going to suck.
If the deck is named after something and you never draw those cards, it doesn't do very well. It's like my my aggro Priest deck that just never actually draws any of the aggro cards. Doesn't work.
Because you don't put them in it.
That's right.
Unless you called your deck Bad Card Priest. And then you draw the good cards and you win.
It used to be accurate for most Priests. It's just not the case anymore.
Unless you go all the way back when Priest is overpowered. Beta.
That's true. Wasn't
Yeah, it was really good. I got Masters with Priest. That's my
Double
first
swipe for Vanik is going to close things out. Moves on. 3 games to 2. This was looking like a tight set, and it looked like he could have been in trouble.
Yeah,
but he
it's,
overcame the Rogue matchup.
Yeah,
and
it's-
overcame this one.
Very, very, very close in, I think, almost every game. In the series as a whole, though, there were some blowouts, the double Kaliseth, for example, and also even this game, that the lack of Raza or Anduin, it wasn't even, oh, I'm missing one. You have neither of them. So even, a Raza on 5 to help, power forward, push 5 damage, be a bit of a threat, wasn't there. And the ramp, my lord.
He ramped
10 mana on 5.
He ramped to 10 going into his 6 mana turn, I believe. Was that right? Or was he on coin that game?
I think he was on coin.
Okay, well that would be on his 5 mana turn then. It's nuts.
That is nuts.
That's not. You're not supposed to always be able to do that. And you can't. But when you
And you don't. Actually,
exactly.
you don't, so.
Sometimes it feels like it's turn 2, but my gosh, the big one was the follow up with the Forgotten King and the Ultimate Infestation.
Yes.
To pack on top of that. That was just absolutely insane. One of the best draws available.
Yeah, it's one of the sort of good positions you can find yourself in versus almost any druid, actually, is that if they use all of their cards ramping, they chain ramp, yeah, they're on 10 mana, but then there are so many whiffs that don't really do anything. Like, look at, Fandral, or even just add Jade Idol is a whiff at that point.
Yeah.
But having not only the 7/7 of Kun and then the refill on that turn, but the Ultimate Infestation, honestly, the power of that card is the draw 5 cards. It's absolutely insane because you use your ramp cards to get there, and most ramp cards don't draw as well.
That's a true story. I have nothing to add to that. That was perfect.
Thanks, Admirable. You are too kind. But that is going to be the last quarterfinal. Since Admirable has nothing left to add, I will solo the rest of this. All quarterfinals done now. We have our top 4. So we'll be going right into the semifinals very, very soon. So don't go anywhere.